All right, what's up, my Liveish family? Out here walking through the park on this beautiful, hot 92-degree weather day. And I'm sure it's going to continue to get hotter. I think yesterday it was up at like 98, still at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So today, wanted to share a story with you guys if you're willing to listen to it and you have the time. And I'll try to be concise, but a lot of it is extremely important to the message, which is give yourself grace, embrace time and patience, and just be as consistent as you possibly can. Embrace who you are and just go after shit. Life is not going to happen the way you want it to. And a lot of times, some shitty things are going to come to you and be a part of your experience that you'll have to navigate. And you won't know what to do. You won't know where to go. You won't have the means. But you have to trust that you'll just figure it out because you always do. And inevitably, the choices that you make around the scenarios and the situations and obstacles that you incur throughout your life will actually be the best things that ever happen to you. They will teach you more than if everything goes right. Because when things go wrong, you have to think, you have to use your brain, you have to search within yourself emotionally, physically, and spiritually to overcome a lot of the things that you will encounter throughout life. So today, I'm 41 years old, be 42 in November. And I now have three companies: Liveish LLC, second company being partnership with Upside Equity Group. So Liveish is the consulting business development company that I started back in 2012, helping small to medium sized businesses with their operations, sales, and marketing, and systems and processes. And then Upside Equity is part of a larger lifelong dream that I've had to get into actual development. So commercial development. And this side of it, I am raising money for the Upside Equity Fund, which I always wanted to do. Learned to generate a lot of money for businesses in my life, but I've never raised equity. So this one is a big one, $10 million a year annual raise rolling fund with multiple properties. So really excited to see where this takes me. And it really inspires my passion and where I really want to be. And then the most recent company, Midwestern Automotive Partners, partnered up on that back on March 20th, started formalized that LLC, which will primarily focus on wholesaling automobiles, vehicles to franchise dealers. We will also retail as well, but our primary backbone revenue structure will be based on wholesale to franchise dealerships. So those are the three companies that I have right now at 41 years old. And that will begin my story. So this will be a little long, but I'm going to start back from the beginning somewhat, more around the high school area, and talk about some of the shortcomings that I had and the experiences that I had that really did encourage my idea of where I wanted to be and where I was going, at least the way that I wanted it to be and the way I thought it would be. So uh, I was born in 1984 to two parents. My parents divorced the second time when I was 10. And it was not a good scenario there, not a good environment. My mother is a great mother. My father was not such a great father, abusive physically and mentally to my mother. And we never looked at it that way for us. But again, grew up in that style of home where arguing and yelling was a constant. My parents separated when I was 10, and my dad moved out of the United States. And so that's when the warrior mentality began for me. I'm an identical twin and I have a younger brother, and I just took on that self applied mentality that I was going to be the strong one in the family. And so moving through grade school, everything like that was fine. Um, Never really saw it as a disadvantage. Once I get into high school, I could clearly see the disadvantage of being a uh, kid of a single mother, because when we were in a lot of sports, my mom made sure we were in a lot of sports. Again, my mom, incredible, raised three boys uh, after 10, essentially by herself, and probably more so before that. My dad didn't really help. Um, so anyway, mom made sure we were all in sports, which was great, and didn't have a lot of money. She didn't make a lot of money. I think she was making $3 an hour, $3.64 an hour when I was 10 years old. So not a lot of money to raise three boys. But she made it happen, and we had some gifts along the way, which I won't interject what those are in this story, so that we can get to the point within less than half an hour. So go through high school, uh, was on many sports until um, my freshman year is when I really, after my freshman year, I ended all of my sports really, and still was athletic and participated in things like that. But ended my sports my freshman year, I stayed on after our regular season to participate for in practice for our upcoming uh, sectionals, regionals, and then state, which we ended up going to state, which I was not a part of. So that set the foundation of the difference between me and the other kids that I was with. I stayed on, I bled, I sweat, I froze my ass off. We were in freezing ice, rain, all these things. These kids were way bigger than me and beat my ass. I was still timid, but I did it and I was proud of it. Towards the end of the season, we got into basketball season. And so the coach came in. Uh, so I was actually going from football after practice, and then I would go to basketball tryouts. And then one day, uh, football coaches came in and said, "Hey, listen, guys, we're running into the basketball tr- uh, tryouts and time, and we need to eliminate some people that are not going to stay on the football team so that they can go do that." So um, they cut me, and that was heartbreaking because one of the only, I was the only person doing football and going to the basketball tryouts. The guys that stayed on ended up making the basketball team without ever having to try out, while I was going and trying out, literally exhausting myself, running home, eating, and going and doing that. So this set a foundation to me. I ended up quitting sports because I realized it wasn't about your effort. And then eventually I realized it was because I didn't really care that much. I cared because I wanted to be picked, but I didn't really care about sports that much. I enjoyed playing them, etc., but that wasn't going to be my life. And so for me, though, I went hard at it, harder than most, but not someone dedicated to the sports. And so I wasn't picked. And so that set a different taste in my mouth where your efforts don't get you where you want to go. It's ultimately in the end, I've realized it's more about your connections, your networking, and your resourcefulness, not necessarily your hardworking. And so I realized that very young, and so I stopped sports. My brother was no longer with me. He was also denied a seat on the baseball team, and so from there on, we stopped high school sports, which was the core part of our life since we were, 3 years old. Three sports, four sports a year. And so this changed the dynamic. I kind of lost my purpose in my schedule. And so started to slack off in school. Not, fortunately for me, I was very smart. I didn't have to try very hard to get good grades. But then as the classes got more in depth and difficult, I just stopped paying attention to them. I thought I could just listen and fly through, but you actually had to study. So anyway, I took all core classes and didn't take any electives until my junior year, and so that I could potentially graduate early. I just wanted to get out of high school and go into the world. I knew that I wanted to go achieve things and separate myself from the high school environment, especially being a broke kid. I wanted things. I wanted money. I wanted to live life, and so high school was just slowing that down. And so I went to my guidance counselor and asked to graduate early. What I needed to do to graduate early. And she said, "Well, actually, I was in the middle of my first semester of classes for my senior year, and she said, well, you can drop them by this date, and it won't affect your GPA." She was wrong, and she was not correct at all. And so what happened is I dropped these classes. I think it was like 12 credit hours, something like that. I dropped the classes, and about a month and a half later, I was informed that I would not be able to walk with graduation because I was short 2 credits, an English credit and a government credit, so an economics credit. And well, I chose economics, but that was one of them, a government course, and then um an English course. So I went through IU. I found a way to go through IU, and I took the high school equivalency online, and I did those. I flew through those, got excellent grades on it. I mean, you don't restrict my time, and you just let me go through, and I'm gonna ace it. That's just how I've been. So I'm fortunate for that. But point being, I ended up getting to graduate and walk, um, despite the inaccuracies and the serious letdown from that counselor that told me I would be okay. So 2 years go by. I'm working in factories, making money. It's time to go to college. I can feel myself staying, accepting that I'm at home, and that was not me. So I needed to go, and my mom encouraged it. So I applied to school, applied for FAFSA and all the things, with the understanding that I had a uh, Century 21 scholars a scholarship that Obama had put into place. I believe it was Obama, and I thought that I had this. It would pay for my complete tuition, um, for any public school in the state. And I went to Indiana University, ended up going to Indiana University. So, anyway, come to find out, because of those 12 credit hours that I dropped after, or dropped because the counselor said that I would not get dinged for those, they actually dinged me, put me below a 2.0 GPA. I received all Fs for those classes. I never paid any attention to that because all I wanted to do was graduate. I didn't look at my report card, didn't look at my grades, anything. I just turned them in. And then come to find out, I went back and got my transcripts, and they failed me for all those classes, put me below a 2.0, and cost me $100,000 in education. That was devastating to me, uh, because now I had no funding. I was going to have to take out loans. Well, I figured it out. I went and got loans. My mom, for my freshman year, got a Pell Grant, and that was about it. So, this country promotes a lot of, you know, socioeconomic assistance for people, and talks about all the advantages of, being a minority and all these things. I am half Puerto Rican, which I've never really considered myself a minority, but I wanted to take advantage of that. I also had a single mother, and she didn't have a lot of money to put me through college. So I figured, man, it's got to be something out there that this great country has for a guy like me, ambitious and wants to grow and hasn't had all the financial means to be able to get to the next level, which would be college. And I applied for everything, and research and research and research, and uh, got next to nothing. I got a Pell Grant, which is pretty standard for parents, but I didn't want my mom to take on a whole bunch of debt. So she took out 2 loans for me, a Pell Grant, and then she co-signed for a $25,000 loan for me. Ultimately, I loaned out about 105 grand over 4 years of education, a year at Ivy Tech, and then 2 years at IU. And so I get through. I had a hard time going to class. I feel like at that time, IU was, if you had a C minus, or a C, if you had a C in a class, you failed at IU. And hopefully they've taken that away. But long story short, I didn't go to class a lot, but my grades were A's and B's. So you can imagine 20% of attendance puts me at a lot of fails. So I think my overall GPA at IU for 2 years was 1.9. Uh, but my grades were a liar. The attendance just took it down to a 1.9. My last semester at IU had a 3.6 GPA. It was a shorter semester. I hated the 18-week courses, just boring, take too long. And I can read a book too. A lot of professors just read out the book. And why would I pay $100 a credit hour to go sit and listen to you read to me? Like I'm an adult, I can read the book. And so that's what I did. I would go home, I'd read the book, I would go live life and have fun. And I would come back and I would take the exams and I'd do very well on them. So I'm fortunate for that. So long story short, my last semester was a summer course. It was a 9-week course. I took 12 credit hours. I busted them. I got all A's in everything except I think one class I got like a B minus. Um, and maybe two classes I got B's, but I ended up with a 3.69 GPA in that last semester, made the dean's list. Well, the reason I took the summer course is because for once in my life, I thought I was getting a break. I got sent a letter from the federal government saying that they would pay for my summer classes up to 12 credit hours. Well, I thought finally I'm getting, some of this American assistance that makes this country so great. Not that it wasn't great that I could even go to college and take out loans and all these other things. So that's what I'm saying is a lot of opportunities out there, but I felt like I was struggling to get some of these opportunities. And so I got that letter. I took those courses, did it justice, and I smashed them. I did great. Really was in my role and realized that, man, 18-week credit, like I learned so fast. And like in 9 weeks, that like rejuvenates me. Like I'm jacked up about the studies. I'm going to work. I can study for that. But man, 18 weeks of studying and dragging out, it's too long for me anyway. It's a wasted amount of time. I learned fast. So for me, it was a wasted amount of time. It just got boring and old, especially because there was a lot of stair steps to get to the classes that you really wanted to do, um, or at least in my opinion. And so anyway, crushed those. And at the end of it, I felt so proud, rejuvenated. I'm like, man, I'm going to get out of this slump. I'm just going to suck it up and I'm going to attend class. If that's 20% of my grade, that's what I'll do. I need to stop having the stick it to the man mentality. Like I paid for this. I'm here. I've earned this. I've gone through all these obstacles and challenges and overcome them. I need to give grace to it. All to go to the admissions law office to get enrolled for my next semester and them to tell me I owed $3,800 for those 12 credit hour courses. And I said, yeah, no problem. I said, I actually got a letter from the federal government that said that they would pay for these. And so they went and looked for about 2 minutes, came back and said, nope, nothing, no such thing. No such thing for you, no grants, nothing. I said, okay, well, can I register for the classes so that I can get loans, and then I'll figure out what's going on with that grant that I was awarded, which was literally in my name when they sent me that document. Now, uh, I went to about 4 or 5 different people, went to my counselors. Nobody really made an effort to help me figure that out. And so classes started going. And so I was able to get somebody to give me my course list without being registered in the classes. And um, I couldn't afford the books. So I just went to class hoping that I couldn't access the IU database, nothing. I couldn't access the syllabus, nothing. But I just went to class hoping that I could figure this scenario out and continue to learn information and not lose a semester of school. Well, I never did figure that out. I became broke. 6 months later, my student loans came due at $800 a month. I had no job. I was behind on my rent at my place. And yeah, I just went from, hey, man, I'm ambitious and all these things to just stuck and in a really bad situation and broke on top of that. Creditors are coming after me. They're calling my mom. So now I'm embarrassed. I thought I was on the up track, and all because of money and the inability to pay for something as menial as $3,800 after I'd already given them, 80,000, 90,000, something like that. And nobody wanted to help me. I dug in and I just didn't know where to go, and not a lot of assistance from that. Just basically, no, sorry, you're out of luck. This is what you got to do. So that set another core value in me. is always dig further. Never just tell somebody no. You know, inspect the information that somebody's giving you, and go to the extent where you can actually get somebody a result. These people are reaching out to you because they don't know where to go, and so I've taken that to heart as well. So that's another lesson that I picked up from that. So long story short, found another apartment that didn't do a credit check. Got into that apartment. Um, couldn't end up paying for that. Trying to look for a job. Trying to still hold on to this idea that I was going to actually graduate from IU. Um, Here we are, 22, 23 years later, something like that, 18 years later, and I'd never graduated from IU. So, in short, that apartment quickly uh, became behind due. Couldn't pay the electricity, so there was no running water, no electricity. Couldn't pay the rent. My mom helped me out quite a bit. Couldn't find a job, um, and so um, I ended up actually getting a job back with a place. Started doing marketing them and property management, and I won't get into all that. But I got fired and got kicked out of the place I was living in. So we moved into the next door place because I knew some buddies had moved out, moved all our stuff over there. They had no idea we were in there, but I'd worked there, and I feel terrible about the situation, but I had to do what I had to do. And then we ended up finding another place, which again, ultimately couldn't pay the bills, no electricity, no water, tough situation. And the car that I had at the time had a rod going out, sounded like a machine gun every time you push the accelerator. So long story short, I tried to get a job in property management, which is where I was before when I got fired, which they tried to rehire me after they realized how much success and money I actually generated them. But went into the car business. Didn't want to do it, was ashamed of it because my dad owned a car dealership, still had that scar from him. And then the, stereotypes about car people. Well, fast forward 12 years later, I'm at the top shooting for a partnership, about to get my own store. And all that to say that, you know, nothing in my life happened the way that I wanted it to. And a lot of it because of my own actions, but also a lot of it because things just didn't go the way I had planned, and I wasn't prepared for them. Wasn't prepared to have those things, and a lot of it had to do with money. But at the same time, a lot of it had to do with my behaviors and my preparation and my impatience and wanting to shortcut things. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, no matter all those obstacles, I continued to push forward and be optimistic and reach out for opportunities, and all of that to say all of those things is what literally makes this country great. And it is July 4th. So happy 4th of July, 250th anniversary of these United States from Independence Day in 1776. This is the greatest country on the planet, because no matter how many times you get knocked down, if you have the will, if you have the wherewithal to move forward and continue to reach out and look for opportunities and work for opportunities, you can come from any situation, no matter how dire it is, and thrive here in this country, because opportunity is everywhere. The opportunities that you think are there may not be the opportunities that get you there, but the experiences within those failed opportunities or missed opportunities are what teach you so much. And thank God for this country for having so many opportunities. So many businesses out there, so many things thriving. So you may not have got all those opportunities, but you can get an opportunity with maybe somebody who did, somebody who got a windfall, somebody who can provide you a job, education, money, a place to stay, whatever it is. All these people have went through their own trials and tribulations, and thank God for this country being so great that you can continue to rise and rise as many times as you are willing to do, if that's so, if that's your ambition. So never give up on your dreams. People are not out against you. People just are people, and people make mistakes. So if you're out there and you're helping people and you provide a service or a job, no matter what level it is, do it well and make sure you give your best effort to other people because they're asking for your services. Don't leave any fucking thing on the table. You just give ultimate, absolute service with their best interests in mind. And no matter what faces you in this life, you will succeed and you will overcome. And just never stop believing in yourself, because you are the only one that is going to come and get you to where you're going to go. You're the only one that's going to get you up in the morning, the only one that's going to put in the discipline, the only one that's going to put feet on the ground and use that brain to get somewhere else, or use your words to communicate to other people that you need a thing or want a thing, or inquisitive about a thing. You have to just move through the world and keep going. And no matter what those obstacles are, just know that it's you. It's on you and you're capable. And so, again, happy 4th of July, 250th anniversary, greatest country on the planet. Thank you for all the challenges. Thank you for all the obstacles. Thank you for all the things that busted me to my knees and made me think that I couldn't do it. Because on the way up, over and over again, I learned so many things and have been afforded so many great things in life because I just kept going. And the greatest lesson that you can be taught in this life is that if you are handed everything, you will never know how to hold on to it. You will never know the greatness of what it's like to come from the bottom and rise to the top. And especially in a place where you can do it over and over and over again. Opportunity is endless and you can do it. I believe in you. Happy 4th of July. Thanks for staying on for this long one. Stay Liveish.